Hi, everyone that's joined us so far. It looks like we have over 50 people joining so far, but over 100 have registered. So we're going to give it another minute or two just to allow some more people to join us, and then we'll get started. Thank you so much for being here tonight and giving us your time for the next hour and a bit. All right. Can everyone hear me okay? I hope I'm coming through loud and clear. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. I'm just going to change my slide here. Can everybody see that welcome slide? I don't think so yet.
Christina, you're good.
Okay.
Yep.
Great. So everyone can see that? Okay. Perfect. Well, thank you everyone for joining us tonight. My name is Christina Zanker and I'm an advisor with Education Planner BC. I'm joined by my colleague, also advisor Poonam Santiago. The two of us are going to be co-presenting the session this evening. We also have our colleague Winnie, our marketing and communications specialist, and she is helping us on the back end, admitting people and helping us with the chat as well. So we're all coming to you from either our home. I'm actually in our office right now in downtown Vancouver. So before we get started, I just want to gratefully acknowledge that we're coming to you tonight from the unceded and traditional territories of the Coast Salish peoples, the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh nations. And we're so grateful to be able to live, work, and play on their territories. So a few notes about tonight's session. We've got a lot of information to cover and we're really excited to be with you all. For Zoom, we do ask you to please mute your audio, of course, and it looks like most of you have done that. So probably this is not your first Zoom session since the pandemic. So, but just a reminder that it is helpful if you mute your audio. It's great if you want to turn your videos on, and that way we can see who's in the room and engage with you in that sense. We do have a chat that is down below on the bottom bar. If you click to open that up, you're welcome to type in any questions to us. Poonam will be monitoring the chat when I'm presenting, and Winnie will also be on the chat as well. And we will save a proper Q&A for the end of the evening. So if you want to ask us any questions, you can unmute yourself at that time or raise your hand, and we'll certainly look forward to chatting with you at that time. So we do have a presentation that's structured first with PowerPoint, and then we're going to show you our website. So there's a lot that we're excited to go through with you tonight. One thing to note is that as you'll get to know us over the course of our session, we are not able to speak on behalf of institutions regarding their specific policies and program availability, things like seat availability or specific GPA requirements. You know, those kinds of details we can help you explore, get the right information from the institutions themselves, but we can never speak on behalf of the institutions. That said, we are in the center of the post-secondary system in BC, and we are here to help you navigate through all of these questions that you have. So, so just wanted to put that out there at the start, and then we'll be happy to chat further from there. So who are we? For those of you that haven't heard of us before or never been to our website, that's totally fine. It's new still to a lot of people. We are a centralized resource that helps anyone to plan for post-secondary education in BC. Our comprehensive website helps you to plan and prepare, and we'll show you these sections a little bit later on, all the different resources and information that you need to get started with planning your journey. We also have a comprehensive search database, so all the programs that are offered at the undergraduate, graduate level, as well as trades and continuing education programs that are offered by the BC institutions are in one spot, so you can find and easily compare details in an easy to read format. And we also now are the application service for the province. And this may be new for many of you. Some of you might have students that are already in the post-secondary system, so that's great. We'll be curious to hear any of your feedback and experience on that side as well. But for those of you for whom this is all new, we want you to know that this is a one-stop shop of information and a really great website to be familiar with. And we are here to support you and your students. So we do a lot of different types of workshops, and we definitely connect to high school students directly. This fall, we'll be doing lots of virtual engagements and attending virtual fairs and connecting with students, even doing classroom presentations. So we get a lot of opportunity to engage with the grade 10, 11, and 12 students. And we also now get the opportunity to engage with parents like yourselves. So we know that you're all exploring these same kinds of questions, but that as parents, you do need to have more information and resources. Some of you might be very well informed, and it's possible some of you work in the post-secondary or education system as well, so this might all be very familiar to you. But for some parents, it's also very new, and they might not be familiar with the BC system or Canadian system. So we're here to help you find that information and the resources you need, and so you know that you are supported, both you and your students. So with that said, I'm going to just pause here now so that I can let the support person for tonight's event, Alan Ptolomosman, who has invited us to do this session with you. And we'd like to give him the opportunity to share some information and to say hello. So I'm going to pass the floor to you, Alan.
Thank you, Christina. Yes, Alan Ptolomosman here. It's not just me, it was sort of a group of us who put this together. I'm currently serving on the Kits PAC executive, so I want to welcome everyone on behalf of the executive to this event. It's the first of, on the Kits PAC, my role is the representative from Kits to the district PAC, and I'm also on the small group of people who have been working on these series of parent information evenings we hope to have once a month over the course of the year, which we've entitled What's Next. And that's really an idea trying to give people more information into the various post-secondary options that are out there. So that will include representatives from colleges, universities, trades programs, arts programs, and people to talk about the options that are available for gap years. So please do watch for those coming over the year. And we thought who better to start off this series than to give us a big overview of kind of the process and how to navigate the whole admissions systems with the different institutions than Education Planner BC. So we're very happy to have Christina and crew here tonight. I just want to speak very quickly about a couple of other events coming up. All parents and guardians of students who are enrolled at Kitsilano are members of the Kitsilano PAC, and our annual general meeting and executive elections for the coming year is coming up next Tuesday evening, September 29th at 6:30 p.m. Please watch for a note from the PAC about the Zoom link for that. We're going to be setting that up as a meeting similar to this as well. If you are not already on the PAC mailing list, please go to the PAC website at kitsilanopac.ca and click on the subscribe button to make sure that you get the information about upcoming events. Also, just a quick other plug for Education Planner BC does another sort of specific workshop on parents as education and career coaches, which they generally offer at a district level. And our district PAC has arranged for that workshop to happen on the evening of October 15th. That's a Thursday evening, so next month. So please do watch our own newsletter and the district PAC newsletter for the link for that. That should be available shortly after October 1st. So thanks very much, and I'll hand back over to Christina.
Thank you so much, Alan. So, all right, so we're going to get started. Now, first I want to acknowledge that we don't yet know who's all joined us tonight and what ages your student are. But we know that there are some important conversations that happen throughout their high school years, and especially these intensify or increase in frequency over grade 11 and 12. So what are they looking to do after grade 12? Do they have any ideas? Do they know what their interests are, or what their options are? For those parents of students that are in grade 12 right now, obviously it's coming a lot closer. Even though you're just starting up the school year, you're thinking about applications. When do they open? When do they close? What are these admission requirements? And did the student even register for the right courses? And obviously we know that given the circumstances and the adjusted schedule, there's lots of questions about how institutions will be managing those admissions. Again, we're going to touch on that in general terms afterwards. So don't worry about, we will come back to that. But also, again, in the exploration piece, if you're a student, whatever grade they're in, they still don't know what they want to do, that's totally okay, it's totally normal. But what kind of information or experiences or support are they going to need, and are you going to need in order to move forward? So with all those conversations, all those questions, again, this is another reason why we're here tonight. So we want to try something out. This is our first virtual engagement with parents, and as Alan mentioned, we will be doing more parents workshops for parents around the province. And so if you can bear with us, this is a bit of a trial run on a shorter scale. But there's a fun activity with Zoom that we can try called Chatterfall. And this is a way that we can see everybody's answers all at once. So as you know, with the chat, you can type something in, but it's really quite striking when everybody does it at the same time. So I have a question here for you. Again, we don't know exactly what grade your student is and what kind of questions you have yet. But just if you can think about what's one thing that your student needs help with, just in general right now, whether they're in grade 8 or grade 9 or grade 12, with regards to school, with regards to planning for their futures or post-secondary. So I've left the question a little bit open. What's one thing that your student needs help with? Now, if you can start typing in the chat, don't hit enter yet, okay? So if everyone can pull up their chat function at the bottom of the bar, type in the answer, but don't hit enter yet. I'm gonna give everybody maybe about 20 seconds or so, and then just something that your student needs help with, something pressing maybe on your mind. That's fine, this is just for fun, and we'll get everybody's answers at once. So I'll give you maybe another 10, oh yeah, for anyone who doesn't know, the chat box is at the bottom of the screen. You can click to make it pop up. So I will give you another 10 seconds, and then on the count of 3, if everyone can hit enter on their chat, on their sentence or word, okay? So then we'll see everybody at once. All right, 1, 2, 3, go. I think we have 92 participants in the meeting already, so that already was quite impressive. Keep it coming. I don't know if everybody's gotten on board yet, but we certainly have a lot of good feedback right off the bat. What are some of the things they're exploring? Choosing a university, organizing. Your son's in grade 12, so you need to know about dates, some concrete. They don't know what they want to do, the minimum grades, career options, etc. So this is great. All of these things are things that we would anticipate that you're thinking about, but it's really great to see that in the chat. So thank you for that. And feel free to read through the chat. You can also, I think, download and save it later if you like. So with all of those questions and concerns right off the bat, again, we want to reassure parents that there isn't one straight line and there's no one specific path that any student needs to take. All right, I know there's a lot of pressure for students and parents to have it all figured out. Given how this year has gone, I don't think any of us quite know from one day to the next at this point in time, you know, where things are really going. So in a way that gives us a bit of freedom to keep exploring, and for those students that are really thinking about their futures to explore even more until they've figured out the next step. So what are their plans after high school? What are their opportunities? Now, of course, there's post-secondary, and that's what we're here to talk to you about. But we want to acknowledge that there's also work, right? Some students might decide to just get into the workforce, find a job, and save some money, and then make a plan later once they figure out what their passions are, what their interests are, what skills they want to develop, and that's why they would want to go to school. Some students also might realize a year or two down the road that they didn't take the course in high school that they now think they should have. For example, maybe a couple years down the line, they change their minds and think they want to go into a health-related field, and they didn't actually take Biology 12, and that's okay. It just means that they will need to get that course one way or the other, and that's called upgrading. So there are lots of different options. Again, in our presentation, Poonam will take you through some of those concrete options as well. But just to reinforce with this slide here that, that there's lots of different pathways, and your support for your student as they navigate all these changes is going to be what keeps them going, what ensures their success. So, you know, staying flexible and staying supportive as they navigate these different pathways is very important. So again, thank you for joining tonight and being prepared for all of these conversations. So the next thing we want to do is test out our Zoom polling functions, and this will give us a sense of who's with us tonight, give all of you a sense of who's joined. You might recognize some names in the chat, but otherwise we'll just get some general insights into who's in the Zoom room tonight, and then also ask you a few questions about what you might know or assume about post-secondary already. So I am going to launch the first poll. This will pop up in the middle of your screen, and feel free to just click the answer right away, and we'll just do one question at a time. All right, so here we go. So this first question is, what grades are your students in, or what grade is your student in? Some of you might have children or teenagers, different ages, etc. So the one that you're thinking about most, perhaps, at the moment. Okay, so the majority of you, it looks like we're at 83%. Almost everybody's voted. So far, the majority of students are in grade 12, grade 11, grade 10, grade 9, grade 8. So that's great. It obviously makes sense that post-secondary planning is more top of mind for those parents of students in grade 12 and then 11, 12, 10, etc. So that's great. So let's move on to the next question. And sorry, just to touch on that, those of you that have students that are in grade 8, 9, or 10, welcome and congratulations for, you know, again, starting this journey at whatever point in time you are with your students right now. Information is great whenever you get it. So the earlier, the better. That's also good. Okay, I'm gonna share the next poll here, sorry. And this is, okay, so this is asking you, how clear is your student about what they want to do after high school? Are they very clear? They're eager to apply? Obviously, for those of you in grade, students in grade 8 or 9, obviously it's a little bit further away, but maybe more relevant for grades 11 and 12. So there's a mix so far. We're almost 80%, okay. So it's, wow, this is like a hockey game. It's pretty exciting. It's getting neck and neck for a little bit. Very clear, eager to apply, or has some ideas and not ready to commit yet. So it's, yeah. All right, just under 40% of those that answered are very clear and ready to apply, but the majority, obviously, because more people on this call have students grade 8 to 11, sure, the majority is, they have some ideas. But that's great that some of your students are really ready to apply. So that's awesome to know that. Okay, so now I'm going to launch the third question and the third poll. And this is a question for you to test your guesses and assumptions. And it asks, what is the percentage of BC grade 12 students that go directly into post-secondary within 1 year after high school? So is it 30%, 90%, 85%, or 52%? All right, getting up there, almost got everybody's answers. It looks like the majority are thinking 52%. 85 is holding strong though. 30, at least almost 30% of you think that 85% will go right after high school. So we've got 80% of you that have just answered, so that I'll just go ahead and give you the answer there now, and it is 52%. So those of you that typed in the winning answer, congratulations. For those of you that thought otherwise, well, I mean, when you think of it, either you do go or you don't go, right? That's sort of the fun answer for that. We want to make sure that we dispel any myths and also kind of take away some of that pressure that parents and students feel about just leaping from high school into post-secondary, because for a lot of students, it's too much, it's too soon, they haven't figured it out, they haven't saved the money, they haven't figured out the finances, maybe family situations change, maybe moves are in the future, travel, work, volunteer. So there's all kinds of other reasons why they might not go to post-secondary right away, but that should be a known fact, really, that 52% of students will go, and so it's basically 50-50. So not to worry, they will be able to pursue post-secondary anytime thereafter. And most students do enter post-secondary within the years after high school. It's really, again, up to them to define that path. So we have 2 more questions. The next one is also along these lines. So after high school, those students that launch right into post-secondary, how many of them finish within 5 years? They graduate from the same program that they started in. 80%, 10%, 38, or 52? So if your student goes into post-secondary, what's the likelihood they're going to graduate from the same program that they applied to? And I should mention as well that these statistics are from a BC-wide survey that was done by the BC Council for Admissions and Transfer. They monitor student registrations and enrollment data and trends, and they started monitoring this in the year 2000 or 2001. And there was a 15-year period in which they were able to see the progression of students from high school into post-secondary and sort of trace the journeys a bit. And that's due to the personal education number, the PEN number. So they could see, did most students wait a year? Did they finish? How long did it take them to finish their degree? So for all of you that's voted already, we're at 88% now. The majority wins on this one again. It is 38%. So again, reinforcing the fact that students will make a plan based on the information they have, based on their instincts, their circumstance, all kinds of things. And once they get into the post-secondary system, onto a campus, into a program, they'll start to realize if this was the right fit for them. So we can talk about how to start by choosing the right fit as a starting point, but then just remember that your students, as they grow into their adult responsibilities of making the best decisions for themselves, it's very likely that they might change their program for all kinds of excellent reasons, right? So not to be too surprised if that's something that happens to any one of your students. All right, I have one more poll left for you. This is a really easy one, so hopefully you'll get it, but if not, it's okay. It's just a little fun test of your knowledge and how many public post-secondary institutions we do have in BC. Do we have 8, 15, 25, 29, or 11? And it's really great. You guys are all using the polls. All right, 25, 29, what's it gonna be? Those who haven't voted yet, you wanna be the tiebreaker? All right, we're at 86% who have voted. Any last votes coming in? All right, so we do have 25 public post-secondary institutions. We're gonna talk more about them so you really understand the options that you do have just within this province. And we do know that many of you might be considering schools in other provinces, but it's really important that everybody is aware and proud of what we do have here. So the answer is 25. Okay, so 34% of you got that correct. All right, I'm going to, oh, I don't know if I shared the results here. Okay. Okay. I just realized that I don't think I shared the results for any of those polls, so I apologize for that. Okay, so we will move on now. So I just have a few slides that I want to present on, and then I'll pass it over to Poonam. So again, I mentioned that there are 25 public post-secondary institutions. I'm putting up here the logos for you. You might recognize some of these. You might have attended them or know somebody that went there or works there. Some of you might be more familiar with the BC system and remember that some of these used to be colleges, et cetera. So there's been a lot of growth in our sector over the last 15 years especially. So these institutions are all quite fabulous and offer a lot of unique programs and excellent facilities and services. So we're going to talk about those, but here's all their logos in one place for you. We do have 11 universities, 11 colleges, and 3 institutes. So it might be a bit of a surprise that we have that many. So just a quick look at the map, what we could do a screenshot from our website and just to see where they're spread out in BC and the Lower Mainland. All right, so again, some of this might be familiar to some of you, but it might be new for others. So just a quick point about the distinctions between the 3 types of institutions that we have in BC. As you may know, or not, the college is typically a smaller institution. They do offer undergraduate programs, some post-bac programs. They focus on career, vocational training, trades, academic upgrading, and they also have academic programs as well and offer bachelor's degrees. So they're a distinct category unto themselves, and we have 11 colleges in BC. Then there are institutes. There are 3 institutes. They focus on applied and practical knowledge in a specialized field. Some of you might be familiar with BCIT or JIBC. We also have NVIT, Nicola Valley Institute of Technology. But these are specialized institutes that have specific cohort programming and applied skills. And then the universities, larger institutions offering undergraduate and graduate programs and research opportunities. And in BC, we have 4 research universities, UBC, UVic, SFU, and UNBC. And we have 7 teaching universities. They are a bit smaller, but they do have some graduate programs as well. So in terms of differences and similarities, a lot of you, we could probably have fun doing another Chatterfall exercise, but we'll just try to keep this moving forward. So just in general terms, and the differences between institutions, as we just mentioned, in terms of size, the size of the campus, a university typically has a larger campus, and so they have different types of facilities, more infrastructure. There might be different kinds of programs that they can offer due to their specializations and their graduate level programs and their research capacity. Colleges tend to have smaller class size, so more around 30 to 35 students, more interaction with faculty, applied and hands-on programs as well. And residence, that generally the universities offer the residence. So if your student's considering moving away from home, you would look into the universities. But one thing I did just note from this past week is BCIT just made an announcement that they are building student housing, as well as some of the colleges now are able to build housing. So everybody knows that housing is important for students, and if the institution you're looking at doesn't actually have a residence, you could still get support for finding housing in the area. In terms of similarities though, One thing that we want to stress is that within the BC public post-secondary system, all the institutions have rigorous accreditation. They have standardized curriculums, and they have a wide capacity for transferring, and a really excellent transfer system within BC. So because of the accredited courses, you could be taking a first-year course on a college campus and then check out a website called the BC Transfer Guide, and you'll see that it's an equivalent to any one of the other schools. So we have a really excellent system in BC. It's very integrated, very well connected, and that gives students a lot of mobility as well. There are also excellent faculty members at every institution, whether it's a college, university, or institute. They're expected to have masters or PhDs and work experience in their fields, etc. So regardless of which institution your student goes to, you can have a really dynamic and exciting education and that is well supported and very flexible and well recognized. All right, so we are going to move on. I'm going to pass this over in one moment. This is the last slide that I have, and it's just to reinforce the fact that because there are so many different institutions in BC or other institutions you're considering, you'll have those kinds of questions about how to find the right fit. Is it a big campus? Is it small? Are there residences? What's the cost? Obviously, that's an important factor, and we'll talk more about that. And is there funding available? All right, so that brings me to the end of my set of slides so far. Now I'm going to pass it over to Poonam to continue this conversation.
All right, great. Thank you, Christina, for all that great information. But just before I continue, are you able to see my screen okay?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right, awesome. Thank you. So on this slide, I know through the chat function, some of you have questions about credentials. So it's awesome because on this slide, we will take you through some of the major credentials offered in post-secondary. If I am going a little fast, I am cognizant of the time. We are just a little past 7:30. So don't worry if you can't remember everything. We've got the definition of all of these credentials on our website. So as you can see, there are many options after high school. And in a nutshell, a credential just refers to a qualification or an achievement of some sort. So when your child or your student completes grade 12, they will be awarded a high school diploma, also known as the adult dogwood in BC. Now, when your student starts thinking about post-secondary and which credentials might be best suited to them, they may ask you what they're going to get out of what they will study and how long it's going to take them to finish. These are very legitimate concerns, and I vividly recall asking myself some of these questions when I was preparing for post-secondary as well. There's so many things I wanted to do. I wanted to get into journalism, law, education. I even spent my first term taking journalism courses because I really liked the idea of having to travel and write stories. But long story short, I ended up with a BA majoring in history, politics, and geography. So the moral of my story is I didn't really know a lot about credentials, even when I started university in my first year. But as I explored, asked questions, and knew myself better, I thoroughly enjoyed my studies, and I'm glad that I had tons of opportunities. So let's take a look at some options for your students. If you see my eyes here and there, it's just I'm using 3 monitors, so please bear with me. So on the right side of my screen, as you can see in the orange box, we have the trades. And trades are great for students who are interested in things like building, fixing, or creating things using tools and technologies. In BC, there are over 100 regulated trades programs, everything from hairstyling to plumbing to automotive mechanic and so much more. And I believe over 40 of these trades are considered Red Seal trades at the national level, which means once a student has completed all their training and is certified, they can work anywhere across Canada. Trade starts off with a foundation year at a college, institute, or university and can vary between 6 months to a year, and then follows an apprenticeship training where the student can, where you can take a student up to 4 years depending on the trade. My understanding is that there are some trade opportunities for students while they're still in high school. So if your student is interested in trades, please encourage them to speak with their teacher or high school counselor. Another option for your student right after high school is the certificate credential, which is short-term programs that typically prepare students to work in specific jobs. Certificates can range anywhere from 6 months to a year. Some may even continue into a diploma. These are typically career and skill focused. So some example of certificate programs or the certificate credential includes programs like paralegal, education assistant, business skills, and healthcare assistant. Oops, sorry about my mouse. So the next option your student has after high school is a diploma, which is also career oriented, and it prepares students to work in a specific field or group of occupations. A diploma usually takes about 2 years of study, and some examples include dental hygiene, massage therapy, and criminology, just to name a few. So both the certificate and diploma programs provide your students with necessary skills that allows them to enter the workforce once they've completed the credential. Another credential for your student to consider if they're interested in the arts or science fields is the associate degree, which is a 2-year program that gives students a strong foundation in arts or sciences. The associates is a great option for your student if they want to start off at a local college and then transfer to a university later on. And maybe because they want to get used to post-secondary in a smaller setting before transferring to a different city or school. The associate degrees are transferable to all public institutions in BC, and our province is really known for having a great transfer system in place. So it makes student mobility more efficient and effective, which is fantastic for us. Let's take a look at the bachelor program in BC, which is probably the credential your student may be aiming for. The bachelor's in BC is a 4-year program and combines both theory as well as practical learning. Some provinces may have a 3-year bachelor's program. Okay, so some of your students may be aiming for a more specific program like medicine, law, or dietitian. These programs are categorized under what we call first professional degree or professional degrees. It can take 2 to 3 years to complete, and they have prerequisites, which mean your student will most likely need a bachelor's degree to be admitted to a professional degree. Finally, towards the right side of the screen, we've got graduate credentials. We won't go into these in a lot of detail, but if your student is interested in furthering their studies after completing an undergraduate credential, most likely a bachelor's program, they have the option of getting into a master's or a doctorate credential. So a master's focuses on an area of specialization. For example, it could be business, leadership studies, or psychology, and takes 2 to 3 years to complete. A doctorate, also known as a PhD, is the highest level of academic achievement. It requires in-depth research in a specialized field of study, and students are required to defend a thesis. So doctorate programs can take 3 years or more. So that's a little bit on this slide. I want to move on to the next one to look at a couple of other options. So what you've seen on the previous slide are some of the major credentials, but that doesn't mean that those are the only option your students have. There's so many others like the upgrading or academic upgrading option, which is for students who want to upgrade their high school marks. For example, if your student is aiming to get into a particular program or into a particular institution, and their marks may not necessarily meet the academic or the admission requirements, they can easily choose to take high school equivalent courses at post-secondary institutions in BC. And when Christina takes you through the website, she will show you how you can search for that. Continuing studies or education is also an option for students to take non-credit short-term courses to enhance their skills. So things like photography or Microsoft Excel, Access, and so forth. Prep programs, also known as introductory programs. If students don't meet admission requirements, they can take prerequisite courses along with other university courses at the lower level. So we've had quite a look at these options, and you may be wondering, so what do they mean for my student? I think at the end of the day, it's all about your students' needs, their interests, and what sort of lifestyle they want. If you haven't already, you may want to start a conversation with your student where you encourage them to talk about their interest areas, maybe get to know a little bit more about how long they see themselves studying in post-secondary, and what sort of a lifestyle they want to lead. So we're now going to move on to the next slide where we will briefly look at how high school is different from post-secondary. Okay, so we do know that high school is different from post-secondary and vice versa. And as we reflect upon this, we know that high school is determined by school, teachers, and even parents. For this slide, I had some interactive pieces, but I think we're gonna skip them because I'm cognizant of the time. So in post-secondary, your students will be making choices about their programs and courses, as well as their schedule. For instance, if your student is not a morning person, they might be able to register for courses that start at noon. Or if your student will be working at a part-time job, they might be able to build their schedule around their shifts or also take classes in the evenings. I love the flexibility of having to build my own schedule. I am a very morning person, as my colleagues know. So I used to choose my classes at 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock in the morning so that I will be well done by 10 or 11 o'clock. And for me, it was great because I had so much time to do other things that I love to do. Now, as many of you may already know, students in post-secondaries have rights and responsibilities as they do in high school. Your student will have the right to a safe and supported high-quality education in post-secondary. They will also have a right to have respect and fairness, and a right to have their voices heard. They will also have a right to get involved and make things better, not only for themselves, but also for other students, and a right to access a variety of support services as well as opportunities. But all of these rights also have responsibility, and we want to make sure that our students are aware of these. So some of their responsibilities include things like showing up for classes and submitting their work with integrity and honesty. No one from your student's institution will call home if they miss a class or fail a class, but it will be their responsibility to learn from their mistakes and gather the support around them when they need it. So your student will be responsible for their own time as well as their own efforts. And while that may sound a little heavy at the very beginning, it's pretty exciting and something to really look forward to. Okay, so I want to move on to the next slide. So as I mentioned earlier, post-secondary is different from high school, and transitioning can be somewhat overwhelming, but it can also be exciting and full of adventures. So, and lots of fun. So there's so many things that your students can do to transition successfully. We're not gonna go through everything in detail, but let's just go through what we have on the slide. When students start exploring programs and doing their research, they have a better understanding of what to expect. So I would like to encourage you to guide your students as they try to learn more about themselves, as well as when they're exploring programs, whether it's on the Education Planner BC website or other resources. In about an hour, or not an hour, in about 15 to 20 minutes from now, you will be equipped with more resources and tools. So please share them with your students so that they can start assessing these resources and exploring their options. For students who want to get a feel of the campus environment, facilities, and services, you may want to encourage them to contact the student recruitment office to request for a campus tour. Most, if not all, institutions are now offering virtual tours of their campuses. And as parents, you may want to join them on their exciting journey. I remember when I was planning for post-secondary, I went and checked out all the campuses before I started. I studied at 3 universities in 3 countries, and whenever I had the time, I made sure that I did that. I also chose to live in residence during my undergraduate studies, and I really loved it because it really showed me where I was going to spend most of my time. Knowing when to apply for things like admissions and scholarships is also important, so that your student doesn't miss out on opportunities. Some institutions do offer incentives or scholarships for early applicants who meet their admission requirements and are accepted into programs. So I encourage you to explore these opportunities together with your students. I'd also like to encourage students to meet with academic advisors once they receive an acceptance letter. Academic advisors at institutions are really great resources, and they can really help your students with program planning, understanding how to transfer to other institutions, as well as helping them to reach their academic goals. I have a background in academic advising, and I've spoken to many parents and students, and it's always so lovely to see parents come with their students for an advising session so that they too can understand the role of academic advisors at institutions. So my best advice is to support your student, but also to encourage them to ask questions and initiate appointments with advisors. Finally, encourage questions, whether it's about choosing an institution, a program, or the application process, or any other questions. So post-secondaries present many support services as well as opportunities. And I want to take us through these two slides very briefly. So as we know, everyone wants to see students succeed. So being a student in post-secondary means that they will have access to lots of support services, opportunities, and they will not be alone. So academic advising, in addition to what I've already mentioned earlier, academic advisors can help students with understanding academic policies, and they can really help provide your students with strategies to boost their grades. So I'd like to encourage you to encourage your students to meet up with an academic advisor at least in their first term of studies, and then maybe every year, so that they can help them keep track of their students, of your students' program requirements. The Financial Aid and Awards Office, they're great. They can really help students to explore opportunities for funding, as well as offer financial assistance. There are many financial assistance programs provided by the government, private sectors, as well as institutions themselves. Christina will show you in a little bit on the website where you can view scholarships and other types of financial assistance. Recruitment offices, also sometimes known as future students offices, is the first point of contact for prospective students. They have a wealth of knowledge about their institution, programs, as well as requirements. And as I mentioned earlier, they organize campus tours. I highly recommend campus tours. Accessibility services exist at many, if not all, institutions in BC. And accessibility services are a great resource for students with disabilities. The International Office is also an excellent resource for both domestic as well as international students. They provide specialized services to international students in terms of admissions as well as immigration matters. But they also provide opportunities for students who are interested in fun things like studying abroad or going on exchange programs. I think we are all aware about travel restrictions placed on travels at the moment, but that still doesn't stop your student from exploring opportunities offered by international offices. Finally, we've got tutoring services listed here as well. Many institutions provide additional academic help through their writing center, their math center, or other tutoring services. And while these are some of the major services, there are many others that are not on the slide. So services like the library, IT services, security services, athletics and recreation, the registrar's office, and much more. So the next slide looks at some opportunities in post-secondary, all the fun stuff. And as you can see in the slide, there's so many opportunities for your students to get involved in, whether it's volunteering, being a part of the sports team, internships, or studying abroad. So if your student is interested in sports, please encourage them to check out the institution's athletics and recreation services to see how they can be part of their local team. Some institutions do provide scholarships for the athletes. So I think we can move on to the next slide. If you do have questions about any of these slides, if you feel that I'm going too fast, we can save those questions for a little bit later on, or you can chat, and I can continue monitoring the chat. Okay, so as you can imagine, expenses incurred in post-secondary will be quite different from high school. I did have a short activity for this one, but I think we're gonna skip this. But do you guys know how much money goes unclaimed each year in scholarships at post-secondary institutions in BC because we don't have enough students applying for scholarships? It's actually about $5 million. So as you can see, that's a lot of money. So as you can see on the screen, there are many options for financial assistance, including awards, scholarships, bursaries, grants, and student loans. Let's see. Awards, scholarships, and grants are mostly based on merit and does not require students to pay them back. Bursaries are mostly for students who demonstrate financial need. Then these are managed by the Financial Aid and Awards Office at every institution. Student loans are administered by Student Aid BC. They have their own processes, so you can check their website or encourage your student to speak with a financial aid advisor at an institution your student is interested in attending. So this is the end of the PowerPoint presentation. I will pass it back to Christina in just a moment to take you through the website. But before she does that, we've got a couple of resources here for you. And again, as we mentioned earlier, we will send a PDF copy of the presentation to all the attendees through email. So just very quickly, WorkBC's career track videos can really help your student discover new careers. I know in the chat, I think someone said something about their student not knowing which career to choose. So this is a great resource. WorkBC also has a Career Compass website where a student can take quizzes to discover which career fits them best. The parents, WorkBC Parents Guide is also a great resource. I believe it's free for parents. And it's full of practical ideas, exercises, and resources that really helps parents speak to their students about exploring their educational as well as career paths. And I believe you can download a PDF copy of this on WorkBC's website. The ITA Youth website is also great. It provides a lot of information on trade programs that help students to get started in a trade while they're still in high school. The BC Transfer Guide, this is where you and your student can learn more about the BC transfer system and which courses are transferable from one institution to another in BC. So the last resource we have here is, of course, the Education Planner BC website. And I'll pass it back to Christina to take you through that.
Oh, all right. Can everyone see the website on my screen and see and hear me still okay? Put on? Everything's okay? All right. So yeah, so we know that we're about 6 minutes before 8 o'clock, and what I'll do is just, we'll just spend about 5 minutes just showing you a few key parts of our website so that you know how to explore it. And then again, you're at your computer at any time in the future, you can just go through this and also share it with your student. And also know that generally in grade 10, 11, and 12, the counselors at the school will start introducing students to our website as well, because this is a research tool for anyone of any age. So you'll see on our website that it's divided into plan, search, apply, and help. And I'll just quickly show you a few things about the plan section. So this is the content, the resources, the types of things that Poonam was mentioning and that we were mentioning about credentials and how to understand the system that's out there in BC and how to plan for success. So that first page really just gives you some things to think about. And there's also a page on the left, the tab called People of Post-Secondary. So there's a page for the high school students. So again, they know about the path and some of those resources to access WorkBC career planning resources. And there's a page as well for parents. And so we are wanting to show that to you because we'll be updating that with our career and education coaches workshop, which Alan mentioned at the start of this session. That's coming up in the next month, I believe. So there's the page for parents as well as for international students or Indigenous students. So we've grouped together some key resources for different types of learners. On the left, there's also the glossary, and the glossary is where you can understand the pathways, the types of options that there are here, the terminology that's used, as well those credentials. If you can't remember what an associate degree was or what the difference between a diploma and certificate is, etc., you can go to the credentials page. So there's lots of great information under plan that can help you really understand the system here. As well, on the left, there's the finance tab. So I want to point this out because Poonam just mentioned about costs. Obviously, everybody's thinking about that. So we've given you some things to think about, the types of expenses to expect, as well as at the bottom, there's some budgeting tools. And on the left, there's two specific tabs. One is for financial aid. Poonam mentioned about grants or bursaries, but this gives you the terminology so you really understand what the difference between a loan and a grant, money that you have to pay back versus money that's just given to you. And it's Student Aid BC, the link right there. That's the organization in BC that you would contact if you have questions about loans or bursaries. But there's other kinds of scholarships and bursaries that Poonam mentioned in the BC system. There's a lot of money that goes unclaimed because students don't apply. So now is a really great time if your students in grade 11 or 12, they can really start to work on some applications. And we've given you some links here for both public sector, so like government organizations, as well as private sectors. And I'm sure within your own research, you can find a lot more. So here are some tips for how students can apply to scholarships and get organized. So this is a really great page. You can show it to your student. And the other sections there I won't get into because again, we want to give you some, just a short overview of our section, but definitely feel free to explore study and work because there's even things like job hunting resources in there. So the next thing I want to show you is our search database. So I mentioned at the top, we have this fantastic database of all the programs and we've categorized them so that there's undergraduate in one and trades in another because you can explore specifically by the trade or by the foundation or apprenticeship level, and then grad programs and continuing education. For your students, obviously, there will be considering undergraduate programs first. So just a quick overview. If you can see my mouse here on the left, there's two different ways of searching and you can combine them as well. So you can enter in a keyword if you want to find something like music or carpentry or engineering, you could type in a keyword there. It really works for specific words, but you have to spell the word correctly. Okay, so if you're looking for psychology, you have to type it in correctly. Otherwise, unfortunately, it doesn't give you the results. So that's one way of searching, and it'll pull up all the programs that are associated with those words. But you can filter down and really explore using the filters. Either you select a few institutions that you're interested in, or you can explore by the region in BC if you're considering, if the student wants to get out of the Lower Mainland, they can look at the institutions that are in the other regions of the province, or you might want to just know what's local. So you can explore that way. But one thing I like to point out to everyone is the subject, or we all do, is the subject filters. Because your student might know they like something related to engineering or to health or to any of these kind of broader categories that you'll see here on the left. And on the right-hand side, there's a plus sign that you can expand so that you can get into more specific aspects of that category. So I just clicked onto health related, but what kind of health? Animal health, health care, health science. Sorry. The lighting just changed in my office because the automatic lights just turned off in my entire office. So pardon me for my look right now. I'll just move this for a second and be in the dark. All right, so the subject area filter is really great for your students and you to explore and see what's out there. As soon as you click on anything, it'll start to generate those results. So I'm just going to take an example. I've clicked on health-related, health information, medical records. You could do this with anything, and it'll start to show you the results. And what you then get is this snapshot of information that you do need in order to make that decision. So first off is the fast facts. So where it is, the start date, the city, how long it is, approximately the costs, and how it's delivered. And we know that this year, many of you know that institutions are delivering programs mostly online. Some have hybrid or still some in-person programming. So that is all being updated here on our website. And most importantly, that application deadline advice. So again, you're concerned about when do you apply. So for this particular UVic Health Information Science Bachelor of Science degree, you can see we've listed it there that if they want to start in September, you have to apply by January 31st. And there's some other information there for you, as well as the application fee. Now, each institution in BC sets their own fees and sets their own admission requirements. So our site is here to show it to you in a very clear and condensed way to help you explore. But we always want you to then connect with the school. And you can do that a couple different ways, which I'll show you in just a sec. But before we get onto the school's website, there's two more tabs here on the left that you need to look at. The admissions info is very important because all of you that have questions about what grade 11 or 12 courses do I need to get into this program, these questions are answered on the admissions info tab. So you'll see to get into this program, we've listed it for you, what type of English, 11 or 12, etc., and some other advice. And at the bottom, when you scroll down, there's other categories. So the general institution requirements, for example, the language requirements. So it's a really great research tool. The other thing you can find out when you're on a program profile is the occupations that are related to it. And Poonam mentioned Work BC as a great resource, as their website has really excellent career exploration videos and surveys and ways to figure out what kind of careers you like. But we link to them and they link to us, so there's kind of a reciprocal thing. You can click on our site and get over to their site to learn more about careers, and vice versa. When they show careers, they link to our site to show you where you get the education needed for that career. So there's a lot of information. You can hit the back button, you can explore, click on somebody else's program, always looking for the credential level and you know, the information that you need. I mentioned you can get onto the school's website, so you'd either click the visit link or just a little box there, and we've linked the specific page that you need in order to then connect with the support services, the recruitment staff, etc. So this is for all BC institutions, and we do have some private institutions listed in there as well. So one other thing I want to point out about this page is that there is an Apply Now button. And that doesn't mean the application is necessarily open for admission. It just means we're now taking you over to the application website. Now, when you see at the top, we have our Apply page. I'm going to click on that now just to show you and explain a little bit about how this works now. Because in BC, 21 out of 25 institutions are now using our website. We are still working with the remaining 4, and in fact, in the next year, hopefully, we will have UBC and UVic as part of our application service as well. So this is not something you will use this website for your current grade 12 students, but a year from now, hopefully those 2 institutions will join us, and then BCIT and Royal Roads are the final 2. But all the other BC institutions already do use our website. If you're applying to SFU, KPU, Emily Carr, etc. So their websites link to ours. This is the central system, and you would just sign up for your account right there. It's free. As a parent or a student, you can create an account and create your profile. The only time you're going to submit any payment is when you're ready to apply. And again, you would only apply as per the institution's policies and deadlines. But it does make it really easy for students that are considering applying to different schools. maybe you have 2 or 3 options. You're applying to something more competitive like nursing, or you just want to keep your options open. So you can apply in one account and submit different applications to different schools. So multiple applications. You just do them one at a time. And then we connect you with the institution, and the institution will follow up with the applicant. So we're kind of that portal that you will go through first. I know there will be more questions, so that's just a brief summary of the application site. What else? Then I'll just quickly show you on the help section. So when you hover over help, there are first of all some frequently asked questions. We've made it really simple to also understand the COVID information. So each institution has different updates, and so we've kind of collated them into one spot. We also have a contact page, so a quick link to get to the right spot for who to contact in admissions. And also, ultimately, we have this contact us form. So if you have any questions about what we talked about tonight, or as you go forward in the next few months, years, please reach out to us. Poonam and I answer emails during the week, and we have a team of support that can help you, especially also if you're stuck in an application or have some technical issue or can't find the program you're looking for. Just send us a question. All right, so that is a very brief overview of our website. It's very easy to use, and scroll through the different sections. I think that comes to the end of my website presentation, and so I'm going to now just go back to our slide, and maybe then we are going to be able to start taking some questions. Okay, so.
Hey, Christine.
Yeah.
Are you okay if I read out the questions and we try and split them between the pair of us? Just want to make sure that we get through everything that's coming through chat.
That'd be great. Thanks, Poonam.
All right, let's see if I've missed anyone. So we've got a question here. How do I contact a recruitment advisor?
How do you contact the recruitment advisor? Okay, well, different institutions will call their recruitment team either the student recruitment or future students. That's a common name for those recruitment departments. So obviously the first way is to go onto the institution's website and just look at future students or recruitment. On our website, again, under questions, if you want that contact page, that's kind of one easy spot. We're in one place. You can get the general email address and then contact somebody at the institution there. But yeah, those would be my 2 options, either from the institution's website or from ours. You can get the general line.
All right, we've got a question here. My son is in grade 11, and I am concerned about how COVID and the educational changes will affect the transition to post-secondary. How do we evaluate this?
Sure. Do you want to speak to that, Poonam?
I think you might be able to provide a better answer to this one if you're okay with it.
Okay, sure. Well, again, this is an interesting time we're living in, obviously unprecedented for everyone. I think what's really important to remember and exciting to remember is that because of all the learning that we're all doing, either as the high school students, they're coping and adapting to so many different changes. They're learning how to do online studies and be a little bit more self-directed or independent, hopefully, right? But they are learning some of the skills already now in high school that will be expected of them later. And the other, so that's actually a really positive thing. As you know, most of the post-secondary institutions are delivering online courses and programs now. They've really quickly had to adjust things and pivot and put more resources into online supports and online learning and delivery. So I think all of that is actually just going to get better. And hopefully when the face-to-face instruction returns, I think blended delivery models will probably continue for quite some time. They're not new. It's definitely common that students in post-secondary over the past 5 years have, I think, trended more towards taking at least 1 or 2 online courses at some point during their degree or during their program. So I think that students now are well poised to be able to understand how to navigate and move forward with that if this is going to continue to be the norm. But I'm sure there will be more blended opportunities, and face-to-face will return. And it is still in place for some programs like healthcare or trades. There are safe ways that these institutions are delivering those programs.
Okay, that's awesome. Thank you. Let's see, making sure I'm not missing anyone. What's the main difference between public and private institutions? I'm happy to take that.
Sure, go ahead.
So I think the main difference between public and private institutions is how they're funded. Public institutions are funded mainly by the governments, while private institutions are supported primarily by their own funds, as well as student tuition fees. Anything you wanted to add to that, Christina?
Yeah, so in terms of how they're funded, and then also the accreditation process, that's kind of the main thing. Private institutions in BC can also be accredited by and authorized to operate, but I would just say always do your research. Look on the institution's website that they are accredited by the Private Training Institute of BC, I think they're called, and you know, just do your research. But certainly for some programs that are very career focused, like animation or fashion or acting, there are certain private schools as well also that cater to international students, and they focus on the supports and the education there. So there's lots of great reasons to choose a private institution. Just do your research and look more into the costs and the benefit that you will receive from that.
I've got a question here from Laura. It's a follow-up question. Laura, I'm just gonna get back to you in a little bit. We're just gonna skip yours for now and come back to you. We've got a question here about kids in grade 10, 11, 12, how they will be impacted by admissions this year, as so many kids have delayed their entrance to university or college. I think for this one, I did share a chat response. I think all institutions want to make sure students are not disadvantaged. So if you do have concerns like this, I think they are very legitimate concerns. We would encourage you to connect with the admissions office or the registrar's office at the institution your student is interested in going, so that they can advise you on which courses or grades they will need to assess applications.
And if I can just add to that, just know that your questions are multiplied by thousands. And absolutely, there are thousands of parents across the province thinking about the same thing. And all the institutions, I think, are poised to just make that information more readily available on their websites. We were a part of a session today, which is an update session. So there are reps from all the different institutions, and they get to give out the information about new programs and admission info to high school counselors. So counselors are getting some of that information, but the institutions themselves, as you know, they're working very quickly to reorient how things are working. But the message that we did kind of get today was that not to worry. No student will be disadvantaged, like Poonam mentioned, and there will be ways around it, like conditional acceptance or self-reporting of the grades. But again, each institution will start to make those policies very clear on their website, I'm sure in the coming weeks, I would imagine, because these questions are coming at them nonstop.
I'm looking through the questions. I think there are a few other questions, but they are to do with how the classes are structured in high school and grades and how this will impact students. So I think you've answered quite a bit of that. So I think there is someone asking if they can get a copy of this presentation. Yes, every person participating will get a copy of the PDF of this presentation, as well as an overview. So I'm looking through this again. I think I had to get back to something. So Christina, if you want to just look through, and Winnie, in case I've missed anything, that'd be great. If we have missed any questions, they were unintentional. So we'll try and get back to you if we can. Do
Yeah, I think we've covered most of the questions in the chat. We're at 8:15 now. I just want to, first of all, again, thank everyone for being with us tonight and being on the call. And we do have the contact us form on our website, so feel free to follow up with us. Know that your students are well supported in their schools, at KITS. You guys are quite lucky with all your excellent teachers and facilities there. And certainly the work of the KITS PAC is definitely commendable, and everyone's trying really hard to keep everyone connected and informed. So again, thank you, Alan, for letting us be a part of tonight and kick off your series. I hope the rest of them will be also useful to parents, and please feel free to keep in touch if there's something else you need from us.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. Thank you, Christina and Poonam and Winnie and Melody helping out in the back. It's been a very rich presentation and leaves us with a lot to continue looking into. So thankful that you're able to come out and share the slide deck and the recording with us. We will post those on the KITS PAC website as well. So if anyone listening knows of other parents who have questions who weren't able to come tonight, please feel free to share that information and point people towards all the resources that Education Planner BC offers. Thank you.
All right, thanks everyone. Have a good night and keep in touch, stay safe, and have a great fall. Thanks, everyone. We're just watching the chat as it comes through and really appreciate your feedback. So thanks again. Alan, I'm not sure if we should stay on the call and have another little chat, or we can chat tomorrow and debrief. And yeah.
Sure. Yeah. Let's just fire some emails back and forth. I just did want to say thank you again. It's been I think a very useful start to the series for a lot of folks. So great. Yeah. Thanks a lot. And I'll bail off now, and we can chat later.
Sounds good.
Yeah. Good night all.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Okay, bye.